Everyone knows this moment. At this point, it has entered the zeitgeist to the point of ubiquity, even among those who never played Red Dead 2. Arthur's last ride is a moving reflection of the life you guided him through. The experiences you shared with him over the last 40+ hours. It's a meditation on right and wrong, action and consequence.
Oh, you're a good man. I just wish you'd done it before he worked himself into the grave.
The validity or lack thereof of redemption.
Really sorry for your son. It's a hell of a thing.
If a person can change,
And all you can do now is decide the man you want to be for the time you have left.
and the impact a person can have on the people and the world around them, for better or worse. The thing is, this moment of meditation and reflection is curated and served to the player, and deservingly so. It is the real climax of Arthur's story, and a means of respecting and honoring the character and the player. But what about all the moments like this that you, the player, create for yourself? I have over 350 hours in Red Dead 2 on Steam alone, not counting my several playthroughs on Xbox, and only maybe 20 or so of those hours are online. I've played through Arthur's story a good few times now, and some of my most cherished moments that have helped shape me as a person live in the space between story beats, in the moments of relative calm and silence, as I'm riding through the gorgeous scenery the game offers, reflecting on the themes presented by the story and characters. I was 21 when Red Dead 2 released in 2018, meaning the game has been with me through my emergence into adulthood, a period of life marked by the view of a vast, open, but largely undefined and largely shapeless future waiting to be explored and molded. I was thirsty for direction and perspective. The exploration of masculinity, loyalty, family, pragmatism versus principle, of right and wrong, a life well lived, all made the game a great companion for an emerging adult. What makes these moments different is that they aren't asking anything of you. There's no objective marker pulling your attention forward, no dialogue demanding interpretation, no immediate pressure to act, to decide, to optimize. And in that absence, something interesting happens. Your attention turns inward. The themes the game has been presenting about loyalty, about morality, about the kind of person you choose to be, are no longer being delivered to you. They're no longer something you're reacting to in real time. They become something you sit with, something you test against your own life. As you ride through the world, your mind starts to wander, not away from the game, but deeper into it, into what it's trying to say and what it means for you. The world itself becomes a part of that process. The tone of the environment, the pacing of movement, the quiet between sounds. It all subtly shapes the way you think. Whether it's the gorgeous, hauntingly empty, surreal world of Death Stranding, where you move through the landscape encountering structures left behind by other players, quiet reminders of the game's preoccupation with connection, cooperation, and legacy. Or the way each region in Red Dead 2 reflects the tone and themes of its chapter. The environment serves to guide your experience, providing a subtle direction for your meditation. Like riding through the plantation homes near roads, you're confronted with the lingering silhouette of one of the most shameful periods in American history, represented in the structure of the houses, in the land they sit on. You feel the quiet weight of what those places once represented. a kind of barbarism the gang believes they stand apart from, and something they lean on to justify their own. In this space, you may find yourself reflecting on the times you've done the same, using the wrongs of others to soften your own. Or the way the vast blue and purple fields near Pronghorn Ranch carry a feeling of hopeful new beginnings, a land that seems to hold all the conditions necessary for beauty and life to take root, and for something broken to try again. Placing you there with John as he attempts, however imperfectly, to start anew. The scenery, the pacing, the sounds or silence, it all begins to shape the way you think. The same thought placed in a chaotic gunfight or delivered through a cutscene feels fundamentally different than it does on a quiet ride through an open field at sunset. In those quieter moments, something shifts. The game stops presenting themes and ideas to you, and instead gives you the space to integrate them. And this kind of magic isn't limited to games with clearly defined narratives. Some of the most reflective experiences can happen in games which don't present explicit themes much, if at all. Games like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, or even something as open-ended as Vintage Story, where, for the most part, you're simply dropped into a world and left alone with yourself for hours. Here, it's almost entirely up to the world itself to guide experiences. There's no clear statement about what it all means, no defined themes for your mind to latch onto. Just tone, atmosphere, and space. And in that absence of direction, the environment doesn't just support reflection, it becomes almost like the source of it. It starts to evoke feelings you've had before, moments from your own life, sometimes recent, sometimes from years ago. And because those feelings aren't tied to a specific narrative, the range of what you can reflect on can become much broader or more specific to you and your experiences. Some games take both explicitly defined themes and environmental tone and push them to their logical conclusions, building the entire experience around creating these kinds of moments. One of the most striking examples of this is Death Stranding. It often gets dismissed as a walking simulator, and in a literal sense, it kind of is. At first, at least. You do spend most of your time traveling, taking item X to place Y alone. But unlike Red Dead 2, where these reflective spaces can be ignored if you choose to rush through them, Death Stranding's gameplay loop is designed in such a way as to practically beg the player to engage in thoughtful reflection on its themes. The slow pace isn't some limitation of game design. It's almost the whole point. The game forces you to slow down. It strips away the constant stimulation we become so accustomed to, and leaves you alone with the weight of the world it presents. The loneliness, the effort, the slow, deliberate process of reconnecting a civilization that's been broken and fragmented. The theme of connection, in all its forms and meanings, permeates every layer of the game. In the strands floating in the air, in the beaches between the world of the living and the afterlife, in the bridge babies linking the living to the dead, in the craters left behind by void outs, which can begin to feel symbolic of the impact a person's life and death can have on the world around them. All of it serving as reminders of the game's themes, while simultaneously giving you the time and space to reflect on them. And along the way, you encounter the remnants of other players, ladders, signs, zip lines, post boxes, evidence of obstacles overcome, left behind to make your life easier, and most importantly, proof that someone else was here, that they struggled, that they found a way forward, and that what they did still matters. You don't know them, and you probably never will, but somehow, you find yourself feeling connected to them, through time and through a shared struggle. While linear games like The Last of Us, Uncharted, God of War, and many others can be a veritable treasure trove of lessons and wisdoms, there's something so special about the way open-world story-rich games give you the time to explore and integrate their themes at your own pace. But to experience any of this, you have to slow down. You have to stop treating the game like a checklist. And that's harder than it sounds because we live in a time where it's increasingly difficult to find space to just think. And part of that is how we've become accustomed to engaging with the world. We're constantly pulled towards things that are immediate, quick rewards, short bursts of stimulation that don't ask much of our spirits and don't contribute to our self-actualization, but instead keep us trapped on the dopamine treadmill. And over time, that starts to shape our expectations. We begin to look for constant engagement, constant feedback, and movement. Anything slower starts to feel uncomfortable, even when it might be exactly what we need. We're pushed to stay productive, or, when we can't, to rest and recharge so that we can be productive again. And it raises a question. Productive toward what? More often than not, it seems like the only form of productivity we recognize now is the pursuit of financial or material gain. As if a life can only be considered meaningful if it's moving towards something measurable, even if that movement never really changes how it feels to live it. Everything else starts to feel secondary or even shameful. Somewhere along the way, we lost something in between. True leisure. Not work, not rest, not scrolling on your phone or watching something to pass the time, but time that actually allows you to sit with your thoughts, to reflect, to process. And gaming, despite what it can be at its best, often gets placed into that rest category. Something passive, unproductive, or something that mirrors that same quick, reward-driven pattern we've become so accustomed to, without offering anything of real substance in return. Leisure wasn't always understood the way we think of it now. It wasn't passive, it wasn't idle, and it certainly wasn't just a break from work. Leisure was an active state, one oriented toward reflection, toward attention, toward the deepening of the mind and spirit. It was time set aside not to recover, but to engage, to think, to observe, to wrestle with ideas. And often, art sat at the center of that experience, but is something to be met with full attention. This wasn't the passive, half-engaged interaction we so often fall into now. Scrolling on your phone while something plays in the background, laden with overly expository dialogue so you don't get lost. It was deliberate, attentive, purposeful. And in that sense, leisure was the reason for work, not the opposite of it. Art is something that communicates ideas about the world, about human nature, about ourselves, but it does more than that. It grants the conditions for us to engage actively with those ideas. And if that is what art and leisure was supposed to be, a space for reflection, for active engagement with something beyond yourself, then what do we make of experiences like these? Where do games fit in? Because when a game gives you that kind of space to reflect and integrate on its themes, it really starts to feel like we're talking about something more important than mere entertainment. It starts to feel like we're talking about something that genuinely fulfills the deepest function of art. I was late to Death Stranding, only hopping on it after it came to Game Pass a few months ago. I was immediately struck with its hauntingly beautiful world design, which felt as intimidating as it did magnetic. Then, I encountered the teasing approach to exposition it takes early on. making the player feel like they're the outsider, like we're the weird ones for not knowing. Refusing for so long, it felt, to give more than a subtle clue about its world. That did nothing but pull me in further. The game kept giving as it introduced endless nuggets to chew on about life, death, human connection, technology, and legacy. Then something amazing happened. I placed my first structure. A simple ladder across a river. There are two things to know to understand why this was so impactful. First, the Xbox account I use was created by my father in 2003. And the second, my father passed away 8 months ago. I placed that ladder down, crossed it, turned around to look at it to show my wife, and saw the name pop up in World. Clyde Coulter, the username he oh so creatively named after himself. And like that, with the suddenness of my eyes bringing something into focus, the themes of ongoing legacy left the realm of the abstract and became so tangible that they were all but solid matter. His legacy is something I'm participating in. The game didn't tell me that. There was no moment designed to make me feel like that. Only the ingredients. They say the meaning of art is shaped twice, once by the artist and once by the audience. Normally, that refers to interpretation, to perception and thought. But this was different. Here, the meaning wasn't just interpreted, it was enacted, built in real time through my interaction with it. And the thing is, that moment doesn't happen if I'm rushing. If I would have placed the ladder down and moved on to the next objective. It happened because I stopped. I turned around and paid attention. That's what I think these moments, this space between, really is. It's not downtime, it's not a lull in the experience, but an opportunity we've been conditioned to avoid. A chance to actually look at yourself, to see your life more clearly, and to gain the perspective needed to orient it in a way that feels authentic. And that kind of meaning, emergent, personal, shaped as much by the person experiencing it as the work itself, only happens when you give it the space to happen.